Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be doing a deck profile on, well now I'm going to actually shift gears, so now we're going to be doing more of the like defensive and disruptive style decks. So we'll be doing Dragon Empire, which is typically more defensive style, and then we'll do a little bit of Stargate and some other stuff. And of course the Green Nation and some Blue Nation. So moving on now, so I did put these all together. So we'll do Seal Dragons today because they're like the main one that everyone's probably wondering about. Since I think I remember some people saying if I'm going to bring them back or not. So I actually had to rebuild this entire deck from scratch. Actually, not from scratch, I just had to like... Basically, I ended up taking apart Narukami, my Eradicators. I'm still up in the air about the Kaiser stuff, the Kaiser Warning deck. I did pull him, so I can technically try to build that deck. The only problem is I never actually got the Legion guy, so... yeah, the deck won't really work the way it's supposed to. But anyway, for now I'm going to be sticking with Seal Dragons for Dragon Empire. And they're more of like a casual style. I kind of relate them to the Witches and Shadow Paladin, because both the Witches and the Shadow, or the Seal Dragons, they kind of just disrupt, they mess with the opponent's field, you know, like the Witches turn things into zeros, and then the Seal Dragons turn things into grade 2s. And then they prevent the grade 2s from being useful as interceptors, so, and then they gain effects off of the number of grade 2s. So, unfortunately though, for me, since Seal Dragons, I don't really consider them that competitive. I didn't really bother to get the main Vanguard that they need. I'll go over him. I do have 2 of him, because I pulled him from Brilliant Strike back in the day, out of 2 boxes, but, yeah, so I'm still running the 4 Hellfire Seal Dragon Weathercloth. The Break Ride is okay in here. Basically, it just makes sure that the opponent cannot really ever have a back row. But honestly, he conflicts with Cross Origin, because Cross Origin is very similar to Evangeline, where you will be striding him as much as you can, to the point where you will not really be relying on Break Ride plays. So similar to how I took out Ashley and went with all the non-Break Ride Jewel Knights, I feel like Seal Dragons would do a lot better if they did the same. Unfortunately, the problem with that is I don't have 4 of this guy. So, I only have 2 of the Seal Dragon Georgette. He came out as a promo when Brilliant Strike came out, so he came out with Minerva and Dawn's Reverse in like a box topper thing, so that's why I have 2 of him. And he is definitely highly recommended best Seal Dragon Vanguard period, like just straight up best. He works so well with Cross Origin. He literally, in my opinion, his effect feels like a GB2 skill when you can't stride into Cross Origin. So definitely Georgette. He is really pricey right now for some weird reason. So, and because I don't really care too much about trying to make this deck all that great, aside from getting the stride unit, I'm just going to run them at the max copies that I have. And then the other grade 3 is the Hellfire Seal Dragon Blockade Inferno. So you can run him at 4. He is still pretty decent, because he does blow up all their grade 2s and gains 10k for a special Counterblast 2 Seal Dragon, but I just feel like he's not as good as Georgette. Georgette is just really, really good. So, especially with the Break Ride. Yeah, this guy gains more power, but this guy gains a critical. He gains a critical for every 2 grade 2 rear guards. So if they have 4 rear guards, he has a crit of 3 like Reiji. So, yeah. That's the grade 3s. For grade 2s, 4 Hellfire Seal Dragon Knight. He's the new guy from Fire's Collection that came out to help them. He just ensures that they cannot intercept at all that entire turn, which is what they really needed them to do. I feel like his effect should have just been straight up either Soul Blast 1 to do that, or it should have just been like, if they have 2 grade 2s, they can't intercept at all, rather than making him have to pay a cost, because the deck, again, that goes back to why this guy is the best one, because his effect doesn't need any counterblasts. And on top of that, he's also anti-Link Joker, because he has a main phase skill of Counterblast 1 and unlock one of your lock cards. So he can even unlock a Omega lock card, making him a very anti-Link Joker, and again, that's why he came out with Brilliant Strike, because Brilliant Strike was basically the counter to Link Joker, for those wondering. So yeah, 4 of this guy, he's just really good. And then the other grade 2s, there's not a whole lot of other choices. So Steel Dragon Corduroy, he's really important. You gotta run 4 of him. And then 3 Jacquard. Some people run only 3 of this and 4 Jacquard, and that's okay. I just run the max copy of this because I really want this skill to be active at all times. Just make sure that they have no way of intercepting. But yeah, the deck is Counterblast heavy. For grade 1s, 4 Rhino Cross, it's a Steel Dragon, Perfect Guard. Because Corduroy special counterblasts, Hellfire is special counterblasts, you gotta run these. And then 3 Steel Dragon Garcerge. This guy came out in GB TO3 as an extra card for Steel Dragon support. Basically, when he boosts, he can do the same thing that this guy does. Only it's just not as good because it's only for the it's only for that battle. So it's the battle that he's boosting. So don't use it too much, but it is very good behind the Vanguard. And then 3 Steel Dragon Sprite Mulciber. She is the limit break enabler for Kagero, and she just so happens to be a Steel Dragon. So if it's right in there, helps Georgette be live as fast as possible. Helps you limit break at 3 or less damage, and you know, those kind of things. But typically the limit break isn't so great in here because of the Stride. Stride really replaced the Break Ride. Did I say limit break? I meant Break Ride. And the only other grade 1 is 3 Fanel. It's a 10k for Steel Dragons. Still a pretty solid card. So that's grade 2 and 1s. Trigger lineup: the Steel Dragon Moggle clone, the Steel Dragon Unflip. So this is a very nice critical they got that helps them unflip. And then just, you know, the 8 critical and then the 4 heal. Everything's Steel Dragon. And the one thing that did change also was I changed the starter to Dragon Knight Set A instead of Steel Dragon Terry Cloth. Because the deck is so counterblast heavy, I like that he doesn't have to counterblast. Yes, the opponent does get to choose, but it still messes them up. So like typically it can just help you clear out their field. So that's why I run him, and he doesn't use any counterblasts. I feel like he's kind of like if Terry Cloth was Magic Jammer in Yu-Gi-Oh, this guy is Magic Drain. He's like the smart man's Steel Dragon starter, even though he's not even a Steel Dragon. Okay, so for the Stride units, it is very straightforward, just like Evangeline. I am running the max copies of this type of Stride unit. So for Hellfire Steel Dragon Cross Origin, Counterblast 1 and choose a face down card, turn it up from the G zone, and then if you have a Heart with Steel Dragon, you basically choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards and retire your opponent. Reveals 4 cards, so basically it does kind of like what all the Steel Dragons do, where it like blows up something and then they get to call a grade 2 out of 4 cards from the top of the deck. And then if they have 2 or more rear guards, he gains a critical. So what I really like about him, he's got Georgette's critical pressure skill built in. And on top of that, what's the other thing that I like about him? He doesn't have to flip himself up. That's the other thing. So you can like stride him as much as you want. So typically with Steel Dragons, what they do, just for those who wonder how to play them correctly, always blow up your opponent's back row. Never blow up your opponent's rear, like grade 2s. You can blow up their grade 3s. So if they do call grade 3s to the field, you can blow those guys up. But yeah, no, because grade 3s, 11Ks can typically poke at your Vanguard, so that's kind of bad. So yeah, always blow up the back row. Always aim for their starter as early as you can with Corduroy typically, and then use this guy to blow up any random other thing they've got. Or always blow up their tech cards in the back row, because you want to throw as many grade 2s on their field as you can, and then prevent them from being able to use them. So this deck is really good at preventing them from forming proper columns, kind of like witches do in Shadow Paladin. So it's not that as bad as everyone says. It's just because you don't straight up kill their thing. You can potentially kill their thing. Like if they don't get a grade 2 out of those 4 cards, then whatever. You just retired something like standard Kagero and for very cheap costs. So next we're running 2 Root Flare. Root Flare is really only needed at 2. I don't understand people who run 4 of this. It's really not as good as people say it is. Yeah, it does blow up 2 for free. But still, like, you know, 2 is enough. You only need to stride it once. And then 1 Zom, because of all the corduroys and the Sades going off. Zom is pretty decent. And then 1 Mahmud, because he is just the extra blow up something. So for Kagero, I wanted everything. I wanted the stride deck for Seal Dragons to be able to always retire something. I didn't want to run Blizza, because they don't really need him. And yeah, so if you want to run Blizza, take him out, run Blizza. So that's basically it. Sealed Dragons are still pretty casual, fun deck to play, kind of like Shadow Witches. But I like them. I guess I'll keep them around for a while. So let me know in the comments what you think about Sealed Dragons and what they would kind of need to make them go like up to the next level. I feel like Cross Origin was a really good addition, as well as their grade 2 guy. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.